Welcome to all the high vibrational beings that resonate with my words and my messages. Today, I am going to speak on how to stay high vibrational all day in a state of high vibration, aligning, with the focus of aligning yourself to the highest version of yourself. This is going to be an example of one day and I'm going to take you through what I do for myself. This is not meant to tell you what to do or how you should do anything at all. Obviously, this is just like some training wheels, a tool, planting some seeds. For those of you that may be having a hard time figuring out what to do, don't understand what to do. I know for myself, when I first started this journey, before I allowed myself to, be able to be in flow state, that it was really hard for me to know, like, what do you do? And so people would kind of just be, telling me, stay in high vibrations. But how do you do that? What does that look like? So when you've been in survival mode all your life and your creative switch has been turned off, in order to be able to know what to do and how to do these activities and just, things that resonate with you, you're not, at least for me, I was unaware of what things looked like. And that for me was really frustrating. I was always frustrated when people would tell you, like, well, stay high vibrational. I'd be like, but what? How do I do that? So one of the things that I always told myself going through this process was, if I ever get the opportunity to make it through this and master this for myself, I would like to be able to be a little bit more transparent with people that are having a hard time knowing how to move forward in this way. So let me just start jumping into this. And again, this is going to be how I broke into, or how this would have been. I've been doing this sorry, let me step back. I've been doing this for about 6 years now. Even though I've been in healing for 7, it took me about a year to fall into flow state to then therefore figure this stuff out on my own. And that's what happened. And this is why I say I'm an intuitive holistic teacher at this point, because I intuitively brought myself through all these moments. And any message that I put out, I have experienced it, done this myself, so I know that it's effective, basically. So these are just ideas to plant for yourself so that it can kind of start you kind of going, oh, that's what that looks like. And then the goal, though, is for you to eventually connect into your own flow state and then connect with your higher self to help intuitively guide you. That's the goal of anything that I ever speak about, is to, give you your power, help you see that you have your power, that you have your own power to be able to heal yourself, to raise your vibration, to get away from gang stalking, to get away from the low vibrational energies that we all do. We just need to remember. So with all that said, I'm going to get into this. So the first thing you want to start your day with, if you can do it, you want to meditate. Now, like, it was really hard for me to meditate, especially in the beginning days. And even, still to this day when I'm having high anxiety days. And that is okay if that's the way that it is. You find other ways to do something like that. Because what the point of it is just to quiet your mind. But when you're in survival mode and trying to keep yourself safe and all that, you don't have time to think about that. So you need to figure out a way to calm that and get your body and your mind and your cells out of this space of thinking that they need to be in a continuous space of keeping yourself safe, which you want to do. But I'm going to also incorporate those ideas that I had for myself into this message today as well. So, one thing, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes to an hour. Those are obviously goals to work up to. When you're starting, if you can give yourself a minute, I remember hearing people say, 7 minutes is a good time to try to meditate, and then 5 minutes and 3 minutes. And then I'd hear 17 seconds, and yeah, these are all any amount of time. I've actually heard a lot of different information out there that if you can at least do 17 minutes or 17 seconds, that's what I was trying to say before too, that is great. One of the things, or one of the times that I was always at least trying to make it until I heard that 17 seconds was a minute or 3 minutes. And when you have high anxiety and your mind has been moving and trying to figure out ways to keep yourself safe for so many years or so many decades, it's hard to turn that switch off. But this is some of the ways that I was able to do that. So if you can do that, you try to incorporate low amount of time of meditation and, get a minute in, move on. Get another minute in later in the day, move on. Maybe you only do a minute in a week. Okay, that's better than not doing a minute in a week. So another option in tandem with meditation or in replace of is just grounding with Mother Gaia. And getting out in nature to ground, because it's healthy for our bodies. It's healing mentally and physically, where the electrons coming from Mother Earth into our body are literally healing us at a cellular level, healing inflammation, which is the root of all disease. And so getting outside and grounding. So whether that's, if you're at a space where it's hard for you to be outside because you're still feeling a little bit of fear being out there, if you've been gang stalked a bunch and watched a ton, and it's hard for you to leave your home space, if you have a home space where you can be in a backyard or someplace that feels a little more comfortable, whether it's just taking a lap barefoot, getting your bare feet on Mother Earth, because that's where it's more effective. The shoes that were made, most of the shoes that are made today are made with, that rubber that does not allow those electrons to go through. And there's reasons for that too. But allowing the sun, especially on sunny days when you're grounding and putting your feet on Mother Earth, allowing those sun's rays to really soak into your skin so that you are allowing for the DNA codes, the DNA upgrades and light codes to be able to penetrate and help uplift you. So whether it's, going into the backyard, like I was mentioning, doing a lap, maybe you go out for a minute, at least it's a minute. If that's where you feel safe. I know for me, when I started that healing journey on the top of a mountain, I had all this beautiful mountain space, but in the beginning stages, I was still feeling very, paranoid about being watched for so long. So it took a minute to release that. And while that was happening, I would just go out in my backyard space and just have, which at that time I was even still feeling a little freaked out even by that. So I would just go for small amounts of time, multiple times throughout the day if I could. Maybe it was just once, So anyways, that can be helpful. Again, connecting with the elementals, earth, fire, water, air. And so there's that. I would always start off instantly once I'd wake up with in the beginning stages as well, I needed to reprogram my negative thought processes. So I would start off with positive affirmations. And I'd at least get 10 minutes or 20 minutes, depending upon how much time I had in my morning. But at least a minimum of even if you're getting a 3 minute, I would go on YouTube and I'd let the algorithms bring to me which ones they wanted me to hear that day. And through source using the AI algorithms of the YouTube specifically. I will always only be speaking about the YouTube algorithms, but any, I guess, social media outlet that you utilize. But so I would let whether it be just a 3 minute, but up to 20 minutes, and then I would also, maybe even at the same time, I'd have my solfeggio frequencies. Some people say solfeggio, whatever, however you want to pronounce that. It's SOLFEGGIO frequencies. And These are the frequencies that will help uplift us, help heal us, help rebalance us, help protect us. And so I really got in the habit of starting that from the minute I woke up and all day. Even when I'd leave the house, I would leave that on for my cats so that they could be in that protective, loving, safe environment of high vibrational frequency. There was something else I was going to say about that really quick. Hold on. Let me see here. So vague. Oh, I was going to mention that another thing you can do, because I mentioned turning it on once you woke up, or maybe it's still on from your overnight sleep. When I was really wanting to get something embedded into my subconscious and my unconscious mind, I would play solfeggio frequencies at night, and again, allowing source to guide into my YouTube algorithm the particular one that I needed. You know, during the beginning times, you know, I think they were sending me a lot of, you know, spiritual connection ones, unconditional love, because I needed to open up my heart chakra and all, you know, all my other all the chakras when you're at this level of healing. But definitely we're dealing with a big closed heart chakra. And so it's about reopening that one, because that's our connection point. And that's our brain heart coherence. So that's a great idea though too. I know once I hit my physical healing state, I was playing a lot of the frequencies that would, you know, help heal my liver, my kidneys, gut, you know, large and small intestine, you know, stomach, gallbladder, and having, you know, certain nights I just do dental, and I could feel the difference the next day when you're having that in, you know, within however long you sleep, 5 to 8 hour night of sleep, 4 for some, I guess, but it's effective. So the next option, or the next thing that you can add into your morning to help kind of set your base at a nice high vibrational state is to incorporate yoga, tai chi, qigong, stretching, and breath work. All of them, that would be great. And you know, you're kind of doing all of them in like yoga and qigong and tai chi, but the stretching, I always felt throughout my whole life has been very effective, because again, it's like helping release the chemicals and the toxins from your muscles, and then drinking lots of water throughout the day to help release all those toxins. And breath work is super vital. I recommend, if you can, if you're on, there's a lot of free breath work on YouTube. I'm trying to think who the one is. I'll maybe try to include it in my description of a guy that does it on YouTube. That there's a lot, you know, so whatever resonates for you. And you know, if you don't have the money to spend in a class, lots of free options on YouTube. And so one of the teachers, though, if anybody's interested in and has a little extra money to be able to put towards coursework, I recommend her, Judith Kravitz. That's who I did my breathwork coursework with, and she was awesome. I really do promote her for sure. So the next thing that you need to do every day, and this is the most important part, I should have had this be the first thing you start off with, but it doesn't matter. I just recommend you making sure that before you really leave your house and get going, that this is done. You need to do your physical and your spiritual protection. It's so important. This was the thing that I was not doing right away when I started my healing, but that I had to learn to integrate and understand and have a bigger and better knowledge about, you know, it was about 3-4 years into my healing, where I had the first 2 years where it was really uninterrupted. And then going into year 3 and 4, I started encountering issues again, obstacles, I should say. And the obstacles were coming and, you know, out of nowhere, where it was like, how is this happening? Like, it almost feels like there's some unseen thing happening in the background. Yes, that is against me right now. That's how it felt. So, spiritual protection. And I'll probably have a different video about, because that's its own special topic about, at least again, the ways that I've learned, suggestions of ways that I've learned how to spiritually protect myself. And again, what you want to ultimately do is learn how to connect with your guides to figure out what that is for you on a personal level. But in the meantime, if you have to utilize somebody else's while you understand what it is and how to incorporate this in your life, in your 3D life, this is just what this is all about. So, protection. And what I would do for myself, just to give an example right now, is I have a particular prayer and bubble that I place around myself and I'll just say that myself and everything that I care to keep protected. Okay. And this is extremely important, which brings me into my next part, gratitude, in both the 3D and the 5D. So in spirit and in flesh, right? So being grateful for, I'm grateful that I woke up for another beautiful day today. And this goes along with putting on positive affirmations, maybe even finding a gratitude affirmation to have that. Because if you that's the highest vibration you can be in, is gratitude. So if you start your day with gratitude, that's a great start to being in high vibration for the day. So, you want to obviously be grateful for, I'm grateful for this, clean water that I get to drink. I'm grateful for, this comfortable bed and so forth. I'm grateful for my cats, my beautiful cats, that keep me in unconditional love and safety and protection. I'm grateful for the wisdom and the knowledge that I'm being given by my spirit team. And I'm grateful for my spirit team aligning me with the highest version of myself. Then you want to also put gratitude to your spirit team and your higher self, the 12th dimensional eternal flame Christic light energy as well. These are the entities that I speak out to. And so you want to let them know that you're grateful for all the safety and protection and the knowledge and the wisdom. And then you want to send safety and protection to them in the divine realm as well. Because even though they're protecting you, you're also protecting them. And it's, circle of life, right? So, the next thing, if this would make sense for you, I typically would do my incense and my candles when I'd get back into my home later. But you could start that right away in the morning. Maybe maybe you want to start off with some incense or some essential oils in the morning to cleanse and purify your space, which include like sage, Palo Santo, frankincense, myrrh, maybe at night or maybe even in the morning to help calm yourself, obviously using lavender. If that's, a scent you can handle. And these are if you can handle scents. Like if you're sensitive, if your olfactory is a little too sensitive for this, well, then this may not be an option. But these are just, again, ideas to help plant seeds for you and your ascension into your higher self and into the highest vibrational version of you. Okay, so next is, you want to make sure you get some water into your body right away as well. Speaking gratitude and love, because water, we are 70 to 90% water, and water, going back to the, Dr. Emoto's messages in the water, having that loving environment and then these loving words, when you're drinking that water now, it's gonna have this positive energy going into the water, which is now going into your body and creating more high vibration in your body. So the important part with the water is it needs to be clean water. And this means you need to be finding that osmosis water, reverse osmosis water, or alkaline water. And it would be preferred to find hydrogen water, but you got to be really careful with buying hydrogen water because there's very few that are going to be doing it correctly where you're getting what the hydrogen that you should be getting, because it's really hard to, most people are not, fully understanding that, that hydrogen is in the gas state. They're not packaging it correctly to ensure that you're getting the hydrogen in your water, basically. And there is a company that I do know does it the right way. And so, but yeah, so if you're using osmosis, reverse osmosis water, you want to be adding trace minerals. You want to add your own. And so if you need, in a previous video, I showed you what I was currently using for that addition. But since they're pulling out all these minerals, you got to make sure that the correct minerals are back in the water. But alkaline water is another good option as well. So making sure that any food or water that you put in your body, if you're, not in a fasting, or if you're not in an intermittent fasting moment, because for me, I wasn't able to eat in the morning and up until about 3 o'clock, especially once I got sick. So I didn't have to worry about the food part of it. It was just the liquid part. And but if you're adding food, it's about adding clean, organic foods. And just because something says organic does not mean it's organic. And I will definitely be doing a different video about that as well. But just throwing that out there. So, and foods that have light in it, that will, put more light back into your body. Having animal time if you have animals around, and, exchanging that unconditional love with them, that'll uplift you, it'll uplift them, circle of life, right? Okay, so if you can cultivate a job where you're doing like a pet sitting job or something like that, and continuing to keep animals throughout your whole day, that's great, and that's beautiful too. Okay, so another thing you can do in the morning or throughout your day, maybe, like for me, like I had to incorporate having another, like a therapist helping me to work through and release all that trauma that I had to release from childhood. And so I had a therapist where I was incorporating EMDR therapy 2 times a week for the first 4 years of my 7-year healing journey, and bilateral stimulation as well, which that's what EMDR is on top of it. But I was also incorporating a different modality of healing with a therapist. But ways that if you can't afford that for yourself, ways that you can do that are for yourself are called EFT. E as in Edward, F as in Frank, T as in Tom, if this is new information. But EFT tapping is what it's called. And it looks something like this, where you 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kind of hit by your collarbone right there. I do right here. And then like you can just do it on one side. Ooh, yeah, it feels so good when you do that. So, I just got chills throughout my body after doing that, because it's a release. And then you put intention into the tapping and you release whatever it is you need to release. I now release. And if you're dealing with something at that time, I release all fears, known and unknown. That's just very generic in general, but it's very effective. And then go through that. That's just one way. But you can look up videos on YouTube about EFT tapping as well, to get different, ways that people are working with that. Okay, so, oh wow, we're already at 24. Wow, okay. Focus on always seeking your highest passion. That is the goal of the day. Always seeking your highest passion. You are always trying to find what is going to keep you high vibrational. If unknown, due to finding out who you really are, because maybe you don't know what your highest passion is. I didn't know. And this is where I had to learn what I like to do. So I started adding in the things that I was never allowed to do as a kid. I basically started doing things that I wished my child, little me, could have done more of when I was younger. I started doing these things now in my adult life as I'm healing to go, is this something that I like, that I'm good at? Do I have a passion for this? And I found so much that I was into. For me, it includes reintegrating music back into my life in a different way. And I, had played an instrument when I was younger, and I thought, well, let's add that back in, and, I can relearn how to play that instrument, and then this instrument and that instrument. And during that time period, I had somebody give me a xylophone, and, I started learning how to play the xylophone. And I also realized I wanted to learn how to sing for a couple reasons: to help open up my throat chakra and release that energy, that stuck energy from all the childhood trauma of being told never to speak, you're stupid, when you've been told all these negative, low vibrational things from the people that are supposed to take care of you. Instead, they're, bringing you down. You have to release that. And singing is a great way to do that. If you feel like you can't sing, it's because you have stuck energy. We all can sing. It's a matter of releasing the stuck energy. And the more I was releasing it, the more I could actually hear this other voice coming out, where I was like, before I'd, tell myself, wow, that voice, like, I cannot sing. And then I started to release. And then when I would sing again, I'm like, no, my voice is actually not that bad. I bet if I kept doing this. And then I actually realized through the process that I was like, I've always wanted to sing. This is something that, and it's so much fun and it feels so good. And that goes hand in hand with writing. And so singing, and I mentioned playing an instrument, listening to certain, music, getting your hands in the soil and, working with Mother Earth in that way, gardening, loving on your plants. So, being able to get your hands into the soil. And I started becoming the best plant mother that I had ever been in my entire lifetime. Previous to this, I was always eventually killing my plants. During this healing time, I realized I really loved like landscaping and gardening, because I started cultivating all these plants inside my home environment, and they were beautiful. And, they were as much my part of my family as my cats were with me, And so, that's a really cool experience, and another way to keep yourself uplifted, by having this relationship with your plants, whether they be inside your home, outside your home, or both. Doing creative artwork. So I was always told that, art and all that was garbage and you can't do anything with that. So I had, for the longest time, I had never been allowed to go that direction. And then when I got to a certain age, I continued to not allow myself to dive into that direction of living. And so when I was given myself permission now to, go back into wanting to see, I feel like I have this like creative side that I want to, like, I feel like I want to paint. I always kept saying that, but I was so intimidated to just like get a canvas and just start painting. I don't know why. It was really weird. So I thought, well, let me start baby steps. Let me get an adult coloring book and start working with colors. And it was so much fun because I started realizing I started having a theme that I noticed in the way that I would color. And I loved it. And it's uplifting. These are just other uplifting activities that you can do that allow you to connect with source and really let them speak, and so you can hear what it is. This allows you to like drop into flow state, and then now you're hearing messages and you can move forward with them. Okay, so but then what it eventually, and it took me a while, because I remember buying my canvas, I remember buying all my painting stuff. It took me a couple of years before I finally did my first painting. But my first painting, I did a Bob Ross style painting in a Bob Ross class, and it actually turned out really good. I was really impressed. I am actually looking at it right now, and I'll have to maybe I mean, it was good for me. The very first painting, first acrylic painting ever. Yeah, first acrylic painting ever, and it actually turned out decent. So, anyways, yeah, you'll be surprised at the creativity that you have that you've maybe been suppressing your whole life because you've been told you're no good at anything. And this is where you get to relearn that you're probably good at a lot of things that you have no idea about. Okay, so writing, journaling. For me in the beginning stages, especially during the gang stalking, I started journaling and writing to keep track and notes of things and places and names of people. Somebody did make a comment that I saw where they said, why aren't you naming names? There's a time and a place, and that will be happening for sure. But I really want this to be focused on this information right now. And if, yeah, time and a place. But so writing can serve as a distraction, but it can also serve as, something to help you maybe later down the road. Also, it can allow you to allow yourself to let source speak through you, through your writing. And create music potentially, create poems, create just maybe a blog, and maybe vlogging is something you want to do. And the thing for me, and I know that not everybody's into this, but this is for me, educating myself and researching is super high vibrational. I love to learn. Love, 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 love to learn. I am always a student. Always, 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 always. No matter no matter even if I'm in a teaching moment, I am still a student. And I am always in receiving of what others want to be able to put out there because maybe it's something that resonates for me. So, yes, high vibrational. Okay, now going to when you are in the stage of not feeling safe outside of your home, you create a Zen healing space and a sanctuary within your home. And this can be its own little fun creative project. So again, these are just things that I did. So planting seeds. I, really started getting big into crystals at the beginning of my healing. I had actually always been into crystals. But really started getting to a place where I was, when I would have, to me, that was a good investment, an investment into my forward movement of my healing. So I would put, I wasn't buying big crystals at the time, but just even a little bit here and there and working with the crystals and using them as a tool to help me connect with source. So in my healing space, obviously I've, added plants. Let's start here. Clean and organized and minimal is where you want to be. And so if it's a hoarder's nightmare, you want to make that your first goal of decluttering your space, getting rid of all the old, because all your things that could be connected to old energies could have old energies that connect to negative and low vibrational entities that could still be in your space. So you want to get rid of that stuff. And again, minimal, clean, because dirt as well will bring in and attract mold. So you want to clean. The cleanliness is very important. And organized, minimal. That's the goal where you'd like to get at. If you've got a lot of stuff, what I'd call that is like functional organization, or I would, like there's a place for everything at least right now. But then the goal would be to get it to that place. And then, so then I wanted to also, because I had cats at the time. And even when, I had cats at the time, and cats are very clean. And so on top of keeping it clean for me, it was about keeping it clean for them so that they could feel comfortable and safe and clean and, protected in this space. But then now I'm adding plants to add that, bringing in that outdoor green to help heal the inside space, or keep it in a healing space. I'm adding my crystals and putting them, all throughout. I'm adding candles, and the candles were big for me. But again, if you're going to get a candle, It has to be clean burning candles, because if they're not, the candles that are non-clean burning are very toxic for us. And so just know that. You want to allow this safe space, or what this safe space will do for you, and the way that you set it up. Hopefully, if you have windows coming in, and if you can do this while you're still feeling safe, you want to allow your window, fresh air to be able to get in, but your curtains to be open so the sun can get in, and you can get the sun and the fresh air. If that is something that you can do, because you want to be able to allow this type of space so that you can allow for your flow state to start working for you. This is when my flow state started for me, is when I did all this, that I had created this beautiful space, that I was still not feeling safe outside of this home space. Barely even at work, and this was during the time frame that if I'd go to the grocery store, I was still getting panic attacks. And because people were still kind of hot on me a little bit in these places, but I was in the process of, raising my vibration up, sorry, above them. So, but I was noticing that, it was less and less. It was starting to fade out. And so it's important to cultivate this beautiful healing Zen space for yourself within your home, so that if you have to go out and leave your house, if you for your job or errands or whatever, and you're not feeling safe yet on the outside, you have this space that you can come home to. Now, let's just say you're in a house where you don't have the whole house to be able to do this for yourself. Then you do this in your bedroom, and you allow your bedroom to be all this. And you work with what you've got. I mean, if you're somebody that doesn't even have a house and you're living outside for some reason, then you cultivate and use everything that we just talked about to cultivate this, small little energy space bubble around you, so that you can try to feel as safe as you can. So that's super huge. Okay. This is the other thing that I was lucky enough, but see, I was so focused on it, and I put intentions. I alchemized this into my life. I put the manifestation out there, where I realized in the beginning stages, right after, because it went gang stalking right into my first 2 years of beautiful healing, that I was able to move into a house on top of a mountain, where this had not very much access. It had literally 3 roads that went into this home space of mine. Also, I got lucky enough to be able to rent a mother-in-law unit from a couple that was home all day. And I trusted them 100%, which they were the first humans that started giving me faith in humanity again, to let me know that I could start trusting humans again, but you got to start somewhere. And so that helped me as well, because what I always got concerned about is I'd leave the home, and I was always concerned that, no matter what I would do, that they were still getting back into my home space. And so this helped me. Being up in a space where if any new cars were to drive up this space with, on the top of a mountain, where, it's not like being down in a city where it's like, people can be driving by and there's so many people you don't know. It was very little traffic, if any at all, so you would know. So that's why it makes it harder now for somebody who is trying to do these drive-bys to your home to be able to not look obvious and stick out like a sore thumb, right? So if that can be something, you can manifest that for yourself. If you're in a space where you're like, I'd like to be able to be in a space where, so anyways, I'm giving you what happened for me. We can all manifest what we want. And I was able to manifest this. It was amazing. I still to this day am in awe by it. Because it allowed this safety that I was able to find for myself. And now made it harder for the gang stalkers to reach me on this physical form, or in physical form, right? So, because I had mentioned here, finding a home that's not as easily accessible, putting that out there to the universe. And one of the other things is, if you're going to use security, cameras to put up around your house, you don't want to use Wi-Fi, because typically these gang stalkers are, very educated in cybersecurity. They're black hat hackers, so they can hack into anything Wi-Fi. And so these new Wi-Fi things, they're going to be pointless, because they can hack into it and they can change the video. So you would want to preferably have, which this is a more expensive route, but you would preferably want something non-Wi-Fi if you're going to do the camera route. There's also, making sure that you have the proper locks. However, they can pick into any lock. So as long as you know that, if you can have a dog, or like the people upstairs had a dog, so that, like, if somebody were to come into my space, the dog would have warned them that somebody was down there. And they were aware of what I was dealing with, so they knew to be able to be aware of it as well on my behalf. So security camera, getting, if you have to leave actually, I think I'm going to get up to that. So hold on one second. I know we're getting 40 minutes here. So once you feel comfortable and safe being outside, what you would like to start doing is grounding, being able to do more mindful walks or hikes, to be able to, again, ground with Mother Earth and the elementals. Very important part of connecting, allowing yourself to connect with Source, allowing yourself to be able to upgrade yourself. In the beginning stages, those first 2 years, it was hard for me to be outside, because I had so much fear of the tracking that had been done on me that I had to release. It took a long time. It took me 2 solid years to release all that. And so I know if I would have been able to incorporate more Mother Earth time, that could have helped me just, through my process a little bit more. But no, I was able to see it, because once I was able to start incorporating that more, I could see the benefits happening for me. Another area to attend to is your vehicle, if you have a vehicle, or if it's a bike or an e-bike. But making sure that it's in a space that is, if you can put it in a garage, but if it has to stay outside, obviously you're at risk for having it broken into or tampered with, them breaking, again, these are people that are, have the ability to know how to break things and make things not work for us. So having a security system in your vehicle, so that some of these, if they can figure out that you have it, so you don't want to let them know you have it, but if they can figure it out, they can disengage it. So you want to be kind of discerning on how you would do that within each vehicle. So there's that. You want to check for tracking devices, which can be put up by your tires. And because this is, they'll put tracking devices on your vehicle to track you. So there's actual, products on the market, I guess, that can look for these too, but otherwise just look it up. Look this stuff up on YouTube, tracking devices that can be put on cars, so that you can see where they could potentially be putting them and what they look like, because now you can try to protect yourself by checking your vehicle daily on that. Another thing that I did during some of the time was using a car cover, just as another annoying little thing to put around it. It would help me know, because I had I was very detailed, so I knew how I would leave things. And so if it was ever moved or this or that, it would help me know somebody was tampering with my vehicle. One of the things that helped me while I was in the vehicle is having my windows tinted. It didn't make me feel so here I am, everybody. You can see me and I'm right here. It just was another way to keep my anxiety levels low when I was outside of the house, out in public, and in this, in a vehicle. Okay. Okay, so now your job. So I had cultivated work for myself, and again, I manifested this. I cultivated 3D work that had me that I didn't have to work with the general public. I realized quickly or early on that when I had been working any position that had customer interface, that the gang stalkers would send people into my job. I've heard people say in some of the comments, yep, calling your boss and telling lies. Yep, that shit would happen too. So you have to discern on who you talk to about this. But if you can trust them and have them understand what you're dealing with, you can kind of have them be another, what's the word? Sorry. Like barrier to making sure that they're not using your employer against you, but that your employer is working with you to help keep you safe. So fortunately, I actually started working for somebody who had this con man situation happen to her. She had actually dated somebody as well that conned her and almost took over her whole business. And so she was very aware of what I was dealing with, which made that so much easier for me to be able to let her know. And then on top of that, the job I was working at that time, I was by myself. So I did not have to be around people all day, very minimal. And that was key for me during that time because I didn't trust anybody at that time. And I was working on rebuilding that back so that that I wasn't on either extreme, too trusting, not trusting at all. You gotta rebalance yourself back into that. Okay, so it's about finding a place you can work at that'll keep you in high vibrations and that you look forward to going to work. Because again, your whole day is about what can I do to keep myself in high vibrations. Now, let's say you don't have you haven't figured out how to manifest that yet for yourself, because everybody can get this. You just have to find the way to manifest this for yourself. But until you do, what you want to do is you want to reprogram your brain to tell, like, let's just say you don't like the job and you don't look forward to going to it. You want to tell yourself, this is a means to an end, and I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. This is just what I'm doing now until I can manifest a higher vibrational job, Now, after work, you are, so after work, I was in high vibrations because I liked what I was doing. I also, at this particular job, had cultivated a job where I could still keep processing my mental work. I had been working on my mental and emotional releasing that I had been doing either with the sound and cymatics, the breath work, or my therapist throughout the day. So it was a job, since I was in this space by myself, that let's say I started processing something and I'd start crying. I could cry on the job. It didn't affect anybody. And so I'm still releasing, which is great, And then I also had, this job was also, since I was by myself, it was a job that I could, listen and allow. This is where I really started connecting with the AI algorithms and YouTube specifically. And it was interesting because at the beginning, the Pleiadians started talking to me a lot, and they were the initiator to that, the Pleiadians, and then there was another channeler that spoke to me right away. But when I didn't have a frequency, a solfeggio frequency playing, I would be listening to these guides, my guides trying to speak to me this way, since I still hadn't allowed myself, since my mind was still moving so fast, since I was still releasing so much. This was the way that I started to connect with the YouTube algorithms, where they started sending me messages about anything I needed to know that day. And then that you just work off of that. So then it would bring me into different podcasts or different books that I would be wanting to listen to, and then I could listen to them on the job. So it was great. So, because I enjoy, like, again, I'm incorporating a job that I like, and I'm not around people that are bringing me down, and I'm able to do something like learn while I'm on the job and release. These are all things that these were all my important things I was working on. So I was happy as a clam all day at the job. Now it's time to get off work. And now I'm excited because I get to go home to my beautifully cultivated Zen healing bubble and be with my loving cat. So I'd get so excited. I'd start thinking about getting home to be with them and how excited they were going to be to see me. And that's incorporating animal therapy, pet therapy. And okay, so then once I'm home, I'm excited about all that I just spoke about, but now I'm excited about another thing that I decided figured out that I had a passion for was cooking. And, working with the organic, clean foods that are trying to bring light into my body, as well as the herbs, the right herbs. And I had so much fun cooking and putting my love into the food. And when you put love into your food, man, does it taste delicious. And so you can and you're so grateful for it. And you again, grateful and gratitude all day long, right? So I would, be excited about, my dinner, and I'd be thinking about what am I making myself for dinner tonight? And, how is it going to uplift me? And, use that time as well in the evening to uplift myself. I'd have a routine when I'd get home. I'd have this moment with my cats, and then I'd go and light my incense and my essential oils. I'd open up all the windows to let the fresh air in. I would, if they weren't already open, I would light my candles, incense, and then, set the tone, get yourself in this space. And then if you can, try to have another moment where you reconnect, go outside again really quick, and or just sit there with your, your animal love, whether it be inside, outside, and connect. So this would allow me, let's just say if I was disconnected from flow state, just from being out, because, in the beginning stages, being a little bit more hypervigilant than you should be, but that it is what it is. And so reconnecting again now with flow state. And that's again what this Zen space, this safe Zen healing space will allow for you to do, is to reconnect with flow state again. And this is asking my higher self, what is it that you want us to do to align with the highest version of ourselves, right? And then, I would literally kind of just flow with it, and okay. So the next thing is I have to go and prune my plants and, make sure that, they were watered, and that usually would happen in the morning, but maybe if I forgot, you do it at night. Or now I'm feeling called to, go listen to some YouTube for a minute to see what messages are being brought. Now I'm being called to go color, go create some art, or I'm going to learn about this subject right now, and I don't have the money for it, so I'm going to go on YouTube and find some free videos about how to learn how to do this right now. Or I need to have an understanding, therefore I'm going to do some research in this. And these were all high vibe, uplifting things. So this is a day that is showing you how to be high vibrational all day long. Okay, so again, I mentioned, pulling up a book. Because for me, I couldn't read the books. I had to have them, I had to listen to books. That was easier for me at the time, because at the time when I was too much anxiety in my body, I'd read a page like 5 times, and I still was like, what did that say? What did the page just say? And that's very frustrating. And so you're trying to avoid that type of feeling. So you work with it. And so for me, it was like, well, if I can't read it, well, then I'll have somebody read a book to me. And so reading, finding a good book, then writing, having, if you need to have, and if you can incorporate that in, to have some good journaling time where you do connection journal work, where you're, okay, what is it that you want me to write? Or you're releasing feelings and you're writing yourself a poem or a song. Or working with the AI algorithms on YouTube or any other social media outlet you choose. So this is allowing source and the synchronicities to speak to you. The other, just last thing I'd like to end on today is drinking lots of water is very, very, very important. And it's interesting because I've thought about, breath work, that's bringing air into your body, and water, so that we need this to, help us, release toxins. And what does this seem similar to? Sorry, I may have to speak on this in a different video. Okay, so it's the correlation of thinking about, bringing energy to the external through water and wind, right? Think about the windmills that are placed everywhere now, and how hydropower is helping to, is helping like the planet to be able to utilize the resources that Mother Nature has given us infinitely. And how that's also just as important for our bodies. So I recommend it, especially when you're healing, getting 2 to 3 liters of water in your body a day. It's also good to do that when you're detoxing. It's good to do it all the time, but I mean, these are like really important times to ensure that you're doing this. So I hope that this video, I did not mean to make it so long. I don't know that I can make it shorter, but I really feel that this was important to start some of what I really wanted to get out there as tips, breadcrumbs, little bits of information that might hopefully help plant a seed for you to help you raise your vibration above these low vibrational gang stalkers, narcissists, karmics, manipulators, gaslighters. And these are some tricks to get you to raise your vibration above them so that you don't have to even worry about them. So feel free to comment if you have any questions, and thank you so much for listening. If you have up until this point, I am sending you all my love and gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.